Visit Sailrite.com for all your project supplies, tools, and instructions.
Hi, I'm Eric Grant with Sailrite. In this tutorial video, we're going to show you how to make the 30-minute boxed corner cushion. This cushion is typically made of one piece of fabric, has seamed corners and a seam on the left side and the right side with a zipper on the back. We have a separate video which highlights 7 different techniques to make a cushion. It should help you make an educated decision on which approach works best for your desired results. Click the link in the upper right-hand corner or in the description below to watch.
The 30-minute box corner cushion is made from a single piece of fabric for quick and easy construction. Shown here are the key features of this type of cushion. This type of cushion basically wraps around the foam with a zipper installed on the back. Pattern fabric can run from top front all the way around to the bottom, making this cushion totally flippable. We'll use the Sailrite fabric calculator to cut the fabric to size.
We're using the Sailrite fabric calculator for this box corner cushion, which is also called the 30-minute cushion.
You can find this calculator at the Sailrite website. Click on Cushions, then select the 30-minute cushion. Enter your measurements and click on Calculate. The next screen will show the key dimensions for your particular size cushion, including the cut size of fabric that is required. Also, a list of materials that is required for your cushions.
And it says to cut the fabric size to 44.64 inches by 27.7 inches, so that's what we're going to do. I'm using a drywall T-square. When you're working with an upholstery fabric and you line up your straight edge, you want to try to get the pattern, if it has a pattern, to go along the straight edge. And this is a light fabric, so sometimes what I do is I actually use my fingernails and I kind of pull the fabric until I get a pattern that's laying directly across my straight edge. When that happens, then I can mark my fabric to size. We're going to cut this fabric out with the Sailrite edge hot knife. This is 100% solution dyed acrylic fabric, and this will help to prevent the unraveling of the fabric. This is a fabric called Outdura, which is a phenomenal upholstery fabric that is extremely UV, water, and stain resistant, and you can get it at Sailrite.
You could also cut the fabric out with scissors or pinking shears. We'll cut notches at the 4 corners and at the center position.
The Sailrite fabric calculator says that the corner notches are 1.35 inches on the width and 1.47 inches on the length of the fabric. And the center notch is 1.35 and 1.7. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to cut out the corner notches on the 4 corners and the center notch at those measurements on the Sailrite fabric calculator.
Going back to the fabric calculator, you can find the cut corner notch size and the cut center notch size here in the key dimensions. The exact size of the corner and center cut notches is totally dependent on the thickness of the foam, so be sure to use the Sailrite fabric calculator to determine yours.
To find the center, the best thing to do is to take your fabric and just fold it in half, and then you can know exactly where the center is just by doing that. And then I like to take scissors, and I'll take it and I'll cut a triangle out right like that. It doesn't matter the depth because we're going to be cutting that off anyway, and we'll do it over here as well. If you have a lot of these cushions to do, and I still think it's a good idea only if you have one, is I use a thin piece of cardboard and I cut out my corner notch and I mark it where the length of the fabric goes, 1.47. And obviously the length goes this way for the center notch. So I'll use this at the 4 corners and I'll use this at the 2 center positions. Here's how I'll do the corner. I'll just put this cardboard piece at the corner, and then I'll just take scissors. You could use the hot knife for this too, but I'll just touch the edges with the hot knife because I can be pretty precise with this. And I'll just do this, and then I'll do this. Now remember, we're going to be sewing at a 1/2 inch because it seems like it's really small, but we're actually going to be sewing right here at a 1/2 inch from that distance and a 1/2 inch here, which basically makes this much bigger than what it looks. So here's a look ahead at that 1/2 inch that we were talking about that actually increases the corner. And as you can see, if you measure it, it's actually 2.5 inches. For a 3-inch foam, that's perfect. There's our center position with the triangle. We just center this over the top of that, and we cut around it, and then we'll use a hot knife to touch the edges with it too.
Next up, we'll sew the zipper on the 2 ends that are shown in red on the fabric calculator.
This is the right side of the fabric. We need to turn it over to the wrong side of the fabric. Some of the outdoor fabrics don't have a right side and a wrong side, but this one does. So now we need to mark on the red of the fabric calculator. That's where the zipper goes, the red on the fabric calculator.
You can see the red edges in the panel rendition here on the fabric calculator.
And we need to mark on that edge up 1¼ inches. And I'm just going to use the clear acrylic ruler to do that. And we'll do the same thing to the opposite side. We're going to apply a 1/4 inch seam stick for canvas and upholstery along this edge, probably about a 1/16 inch away from the edge. And then when I reach the end, I just break it with my fingers. And what we want to do is we want to create a single hem. So we're going to fold to that line that we just struck on the fabric. And this will make a beautiful zipper application. So there's our line. We just fold right up to it. And again, this is the wrong side of the fabric. And we're going to do the exact same thing to the other side. This double-sided tape holds the hem well, so you can take it to the sewing machine and sew without it moving. And it's an acrylic glue, not a rubber-based glue, so it doesn't yellow. This is our number 5 coil zipper, and the teeth are facing up, and I've applied double-sided tape already to both sides of the flange. The underside, you don't see any teeth. Now we're going to peel off one side of the double-sided tape, doesn't matter which side. And then what we're going to do is we're going to stick this on with about 1 inch overlap at the corners. And we're going to match it up to that edge that we just folded over. So when you turn this over, you can see that the teeth are centered right on the fold. That's perfect. With this side basted on, we're going to fold this back, and then we're going to fold this over, and we're going to peel off the transfer paper on the opposite side of the zipper, revealing the glue. And what we want to do is we want to match up this edge with that edge, and then basically put this right over the zipper's teeth. So see how the edges are matched up perfectly? And then we'll baste it down its length. Perfect. Now what we'll do, without taking the fabric off, because it's not been sewn, is we'll separate the zipper, and you can just do that by peeling it apart. And then we're going to take it to the sewing machine. We're going to sew this with a straight stitch, and we're going to set the stitch length to about 4 to 5 millimeters. And I'm going to put the needle in the right position to get closer to the zipper's teeth. The zipper is up and our hem is down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to position this right at the edge with the foot up against the teeth, hold on to my trailing threads, do a little bit of reversing here, and then sew down the teeth and do reversing at the other end. We're going to repeat this process on the other end.
The next step is really easy. We're just going to sew the sides together.
I've applied basting tape to the two sides, but only to the center notch. And now I'm going to peel off the transfer paper, and this is the outside surface. So outside surfaces are going to face each other. So these are the two sides that I've applied it to. Then what I'm going to do, once the paper's off, is I'm going to fold this directly in half and match up these edges and the center and corner notches. So you want to do this carefully. And we'll do the same thing to the other side. If after basting and you find yourself a little bit off at the center notch, that's no big deal. As long as it's off only a little bit like this, we'll just trim it so that it's equal. So just like that, we'll take out that little piece. And now it is equal. Won't make a difference. We're gonna put the machine so the needle's in center position, and I'm gonna use a magnetic guide and put it at the 1/2 inch on the needle plate, so my stitch is a 1/2 inch seam allowance along the edge. And those edges that we just basted down, we wanna do a little bit of reversing here at the beginning and the end. Once this is done, we're gonna do the same thing to the opposite side.
The next task is to install the zipper's slider.
The next step is to put the slider on, and the tab needs to be facing the inside because this is the outside surface and this is the inside surface that's facing out. Start it on there, start it on here, both sides want to be even. I'm sorry, my fingers are probably getting in the way. Then I push like that, and now it's started, and I'll grab my I'll grab the tab and zip it on. And what I want to do is I want to zip it all the way through, I'm sorry to say this, and zip it all the way off because that joins the zipper all the way together. And then I want to make sure that the sides are still even, and they are. And then I want to break it apart and reinstall it again in the same manner. So once I have it on, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my finger, because you can only gain access from this hole, and I'm going to push it because I have to sew a 1/2 inch. I have to push it so that I can sew a 1/2 inch from that edge. So I'm going to grab the tab, or push on the tab, and move the slider so it's about 2 inches from the corner. There we go. And that should be completely, or 2 or 3 inches away. That should be enough to sew at that corner.
In this chapter, the cushion will take shape. We're going to sew the boxed corners.
Now I like to open up this seam allowance here and pull out a little bit of the basting tape because I like to butterfly this open. You don't have to do this, but I like to do it. So I'm just going to rip this double-sided tape out a couple inches like that, and then just break it. And now what I can do at the corners, this is the corner without the zipper, is I just pull this out. So basically I make a triangle here, and I want this seam allowance to be in the center of the triangle, and I splay that out like a butterfly, flap, flap, flap. And then I sew a 1/2 inch from that. So I'm going to position this in the machine. I like the position of it. You can pin it if you want. And we have our magnetic guide at a 1/2 inch, and the needle's in center position. So I'm just going to do some reversing here. You got to do some reversing here, and even if you sew off the fabric a little bit, that's quite all right, because it's got to stay down hard. I'm going to sew over that seam allowance, and then I'm going to sew to this edge and do reversing here, and we're going to do the exact same thing to the opposite corner without a zipper, but let's show you what you do with a zipper. So that one's done, actually. That's what it should look like. So here's the one with the zipper, and we do the same thing. We pull the fabric out so it creates a beautiful triangle here. We want the seam to be over top of the zipper's teeth approximately, and it's pretty close right there. And now the zipper is going to get in the way, so I'm going to chop off the zipper with scissors. So I'm just making the zipper flush with the edge of the fabric. Now we're going to be sewing through the teeth and that seam allowance at a 1/2 inch, and this 1/2 inch makes this corner a lot larger than it is at the cutouts. So we'll do the same thing here, reversing all the way even till you fall off the fabric a little bit. And then just be careful when you sew over your zipper's teeth. There we go. And we'll reverse here as well. And we're going to do the same thing to the other zipper. And then we'll take it to the table and show you what's next.
Cutting the cushion foam to size is next. Typically, the foam is cut a 1/2 inch larger than the desired finished size on both dimensions. You can refer to the fabric calculator to see the cut size of the foam that's required for your cushion.
I've marked my foam to size with a permanent marker, and you can use an electric kitchen knife that you use to carve a turkey for Thanksgiving, or you can use a Sailrite blade foam saw, which makes almost a perfectly vertical cut. We'll start with demonstrating the Sailrite blade foam saw. For this approach, what I do is I usually use the edge of a sacrificial table so that I can hold my blade straight, and I line the line up with the table and put a weight on top. So as you can see, this method works as well.
Next comes the job of inserting the foam in the cushion cover. We're also going to have a short discussion about the types of foam that you can buy.
To open up this cover, just break it right ahead of the slider, and that opens it up. Then you can pull the slider all the way back to your corner, like that. Now let's turn it right side out. This is the wrong side. And push the corners out so they look nice. And there's one of the finished corners, and that looks great. Now we're going to take our foam and we're going to insert it. Now this is a little bit of a difficult task, and sometimes I compress it like this to get it in the cover. But be patient with yourself and we'll get it in there. We're going to show this in triple time probably.
While we're stuffing the foam in the cushion cover, let's talk about foam. We're using Sailrite premium foam. It is a high density foam, which means you can use it heavily and it will last for years without bottoming out. If you plan on using your cushion occasionally, consider Sailrite standard foam. It is a medium density foam. In short, if the foam is used heavily, the higher the density, the longer the life of the foam, while indentation force deflection, or IFD, has to do with how soft or firm the foam is when sat upon.
Okay, your objective here, now that we have the foam inside, is to put the seam, which you can see there in the center, and to push the foam into the corners so each corner looks good. There's no seam along the front, as you can see, but there is a seam on this side, and I think that looks pretty good. So once that's done, then we can take the zipper and close it up. And that is your box corner cushion, or 30-minute cushion. And there's the front and the two sides and the back with the zipper in it.
Coming up next is the materials and tools that we used to make this 30-minute boxed corner cushion. For our decorative fabric, we chose Outdura upholstery fabric. It's 100% Sushin-dyed acrylic, great for indoor and outdoor use. Available at Sailrite. This video is part of a set of 6 tutorials showing different techniques to sew cushions. Click on the playlist to see others. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe and click the bell to be notified of new tutorial videos when they become available. I'm Eric Grant. Thanks for watching.